Coming up, Kansas state lawmaker Christina Haswood joins us in the studio. We're talking gun control laws, Earth Day, and how to run for public office. Plus, Native America Calling senior producer Andi Murphy discusses the 2023 Farm Bill. I'm Aaliyah Chavez. Join us for those interviews plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Arizona State University welcomes 3,500 Indigenous students from Arizona and across the nation. It serves one of the largest populations of Indigenous students among U.S. colleges and universities. We created a sense of place for tribal nations to create futures of their own making through community outreach and research, taught by world-class Indigenous faculty where they see a reflection of themselves and their experiences. Find community at ASU.
Thank you for joining us. We start today in New York, where a major action has been taken to remove Native mascots. The New York Board of Regents voted unanimously this week to ban all of its public schools from using Indigenous names and imagery as mascots. The ban will affect around 50 to 60 school districts across the state, including 11 in Long Island alone. Schools are required to make the change by the end of the 2025 school year. Those who aren't in compliance may be in violation of the state's Dignity Act, which ensures a discrimination and harassment-free environment for students. Infractions against the ban can result in the removal of school officers and the withholding of state aid. The Seneca Nation responded to the effort, saying that respect for Native people and our history should always be the expectation, not the exception. This ban will not prohibit tribal schools nor students or employees who are tribal citizens from displaying their nation's name, logo, or mascot. Well, 420 this year comes with cannabis news in South Dakota. According to new data, recreational marijuana use could pass in the state's next election. A South Dakota State University poll found a majority of registered voters who were surveyed are in favor of adult use. While the 2022 election resulted in legalizing medical use, the 2024 election could pave way for recreational use to pass. For the 8 tribes in South Dakota who can already legally grow cannabis under existing policies, this could expand recreational services and increase customer bases. On the ballot last November, 53% of voters opposed the measure that would have allowed adults to use and possess homegrown marijuana. In SDSU's recent poll, the opposition makes up just 41%. This would mark the 3rd time for South Dakota to vote on an adult use marijuana initiative. Well, mark your calendars for mid-May because that's when a new Native stamp will be available. The United States Postal Service unveiled its new Forever stamp honoring Ponca leader Chief Standing Bear. The portrait was illustrated by Thomas Blackshear II, who based it on an 1877 black and white photo of the chief. 2 years after this photo was taken, Standing Bear won a landmark court ruling that deemed Native Americans as people with unalienable rights under federal law. The Postal Service says it will celebrate the civil rights hero by printing 18 million copies. A Forever stamp can be used to mail a letter that weighs 1 ounce, no matter if the price of stamps change in the future. The stamp will officially be released on May 12th at a dedication ceremony with Native leaders in Lincoln, Nebraska. Boys and Girls Clubs around the country offer activities for youth after school. For Native communities, there are more and more of these initiatives popping up. Rosalind Yazzie has this story about a club in Fort Hall, Idaho.
The Boys and Girls Club of Shoshone-Bannock Tribes is one of over 227 clubs in the nation, which reaches over 120,000 Native youth and tribal communities. The organization's goal is to prioritize the well-being of youth through culture, life-enhancing programs, and mentorship that fosters resiliency and meets the needs of the people. Tribal Youth Education Program Manager Dana Hernandez said their mission is to offer students activities that are structured, educational, and a support system.
Being a youth nowadays, they struggle with a lot of stuff and they may not have like mentors or somebody that's, really close that they can tell anything that's going on with their lives, if they're struggling with mental health, physical, emotional. There's a bunch of different stuff that our youth go through. So our mission is just to keep kids safe, to be a support for them, and for them to know that they can come here if they ever need anything.
7th grader Seth Stacy has seen significant improvement with his grades and speech.
The reason why I like going here to Boys and Girls Club is because they help me do my homework. They teach us how to cook. They teach us how to bead, and I could have some time to myself away from family.
Boys and Girls Club of Shoshone-Bannock Tribes are reaching out to involve more youth and encouraging community members to share their skills by volunteering. In Fort Hall, Idaho, Rosalind Yazzie, ICT News.
And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. Every 5 years, Congress drafts a new farm bill. It is a massive piece of legislation that determines policy and funding for everything having to do with agriculture and food. The legislation is currently being drafted by members of the U.S. Congress, which is why it is a big topic of discussion for Indian country. That was the case at Res 2023 in Las Vegas. ICT's Paris Wise has this interview with the senior producer of Native America Calling, Andi Murphy. She is a journalist who moderated a conversation on food sovereignty.
Hi, Andi. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here at Res, and you were awarded a 40 Under 40 award. You also held a panel here on the Farm Bill authorization. Can you give us an overview of how that went?
Yeah, I thought it went pretty good. I had guests Sean Sherman, Marsha Whiting from First Nations Development Institute, and then Aaron LaPointe from Ho-Chunk Farms, and they were very, very knowledgeable about the Farm Bill. I mean, they have to be in their line of work. And I thought the audience learned a whole lot, and I think it was just nice for them to listen to Sean Sherman. He's always just really, really awesome to listen to. Every time I hear him speak, I learn something new.
It was great. I attended, and you did a really great job moderating as well.
Thank you.
And what was touched on that as well was the Farm Bill is kind of posed as this double-edged sword. It can be really helpful to Indigenous communities, but also harmful. Can you touch on that more?
Yeah, okay, so it can be helpful in ways where, our policymakers and our tribal leaders can get in there right now, and they've been doing so, the last couple of farm bills, making positive changes for that trickled all the way down to tribal agriculture, nutrition, the Commodity Foods Program, or FDIPR. So, like last year there was the food distribution program on Indian reservations, the Commodity Foods Program. They were awarded some money from the last Farm Bill in 2018, and that allowed them to start a really cool pilot project, a self-determination pilot project. On the other side of that sword, there's still some policies in there, especially when it comes to nutrition and food safety, that literally make some of our indigenous foods, illegal to especially sell, which, if you're gonna give over a piece of meat, a piece of some of this sacred indigenous food, you should get something in return. And sometimes you just can't do that. It has to be donated. You can't sell it at a restaurant. You can't serve it to our elders in elder homes and our kids in schools. So that some of those policies in the Farm Bill make it really hard for us to get some of those really good nutritional foods to big parts of our community.
Is that something you see being included or changed in this upcoming one?
I'm not too sure what the folks in the Farm Bill Coalition and tribal leaders and policymakers are planning, but that does seem like something that they would be tackling or changing. Sometimes it's just as simple as like tweaking the language in in that big piece of legislation.
Well, another hurdle that was discussed was getting capital for some of these projects. How would you say that people can get involved in this food industry or start a food business?
Yeah, well, with on the nonprofit level, on the tribal level, and the federal level, it seems like there's a lot of financial opportunities for people who are growing their own food or wanting to start their own food business. It's just, I think it's a matter of really understanding the system and understanding we can put seeds in the ground and we can grow food and we can cook, like nobody's business, but understanding all of that stuff that happens in the back of a food business is really very complicated. And then with Indian country, you mix in like jurisdiction, all of these policies that come all the way down from the Farm Bill, and it's a really complicated process, but I think a lot of people are navigating it really well today. I mean, they don't call this the Native American food movement for nothing. I mean, there's a lot of people who are starting new food businesses and farms all over the place, and it's just exciting being a journalist watching all of that, and really seeing a lot of people I've been following for years making really big moves.
That's so exciting. Can you touch more on this native food movement and how you've seen it evolve?
I've been following native food for the last 10 years or so, and we watched the OGs like Sean Sherman and Nephi Craig and Freddie Bitsui, and those guys really kind of paved the way for a lot of other new chefs out there who are doing a really great job, like just showcasing what we can do and what our food is all about, and then really like advertising all of the native food businesses and farms out there by including all of that food in their programming. So it's really become a really big movement where you can see it happening in a whole bunch of different areas of Native America, from in the kitchen, in the classroom, on the farm, all the the whole land back movement too is closely tied to our foods. We're talking about climate change. There's so many issues now that we're learning about that tie all the way back down to our foods. And there's a lot more coverage of native food in the media and in the greater national media. There, food magazines like Eater and Bon Appetit and magazines like that, they're starting to add, dedicate some of their pages to Indigenous food because we're making a whole lot more noise. And a really big part of this movement too right now is the entrepreneurship side of food. There's a lot more businesses out there, a lot more tribes, really strengthening their food sovereignty side of their communities. So it's really excited.
I was listening to one of your Toasted Sister podcast episodes and how you covered Res last year, and you mentioned how food sovereignty is economic sovereignty. Can you touch more on that and what sovereignty means to you?
I see a couple of different variations of sovereignty. We have this really big concept of sovereignty and food sovereignty, the ability to feed ourselves. And after talking to chefs and farmers and dozens of chefs and farmers and food workers in Native America, I've learned that one of the most important variations of food sovereignty is just the ability for yourself as an individual to feed yourself in a good way and to reconnect with Indigenous foods in your community and the Indigenous entrepreneurs who are selling these foods, because all of this work that chefs and policymakers and lawyers and, water protectors, all of that doesn't mean anything if we can't individually bring these ingredients into our own pantries and crave it and be hungry for it and know how to use these ingredients in a tasty way. So, for me, that's the most powerful form of sovereignty, I guess, is just the individual understanding of, what all this means and how you can actively bring it into your own kitchen.
Well, you're doing a lot of things right. Congrats again on all of the accomplishments, and thanks for joining us here at Res.
Yeah, thank you.
Kansas is just one of 11 states in the U.S. operating with a divided government. While the governor is a Democrat, Republicans in the state control both the House and the Senate. This picture is what Kansas state lawmaker Christina Haswood goes to work with every day. The Democrat is a citizen of the Navajo Nation and is currently serving her second term in the Kansas House. Representative Haswood joins us in our studio today in Phoenix. Hello to you and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
So I want to jump in and talk about your district. As you know, we're a national publication, so a lot of people may not have heard about, your district before, so tell us about it.
Yeah, so I'll introduce myself in my native language. Christina Haswood, So I'm Christina Haswood. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm Bitterwater born for the Blackfeet people. My maternal grandparents are the Zuni Edgewater, and my paternal grandparents are the Towering House people. And I'm originally from Beacon, Arizona, so Inscription House, Arizona. And I represent Kansas in House District 10, which is quite a unique district because in it, even though I don't technically represent it, is Haskell Nations University, which is federal lands. And once you step out of campus area, you are onto my district, and it's about the southeast of Lawrence, Kansas, where also has University of Kansas University, and it has quite a few large urban Native American Indigenous population, and that kind of goes along to the story of how my family got there, where a lot of my family members, and currently have a couple cousins going to Haskell currently, so it's a great city, and it's very, I would say, open to a lot of issues that I represent and who I am as an Indigenous young woman. And I just feel so supported and so lucky to represent an amazing district.
Given that you mentioned there's an urban Native population in your district, what are some of the most pressing concerns that you hear from constituents?
Yeah, so I say the housing market, and I would say a lot of these issues we see across the country as well, and the economy and the environment. And I have a lot of young folks who I represent as well, and with a large college town it is. So there's a lot of issues such as gun violence currently happening across the country, and mental health. And those are just, a few of the issues that come to my head.
We know that Earth Day is on Saturday, so in just a few days. What kinds of bills or initiatives have you been working on to address environmental concerns?
Yeah, so we have a huge support in Kansas, and it's really great to come from an Indigenous perspective. And in my community, they really try to uplift that Indigenous perspective. We have a lot of community gardens and a really amazing food bank system for food insecurity in our community. And with Earth Day coming up, I know a lot of organizations are going to schedule cleanup days. And what's really cool about my district is that there's actually a Baker's Wetlands where, of course, the history with being on Haskell is not a happy history, but it's also an environmental concern that's always under attack with economic building. It's also near a highway as well. And as our city continues to expand, a lot of the waterways and floodplains in our community become overlooked at for economic development reasons. So those are some of the current issues that we fight with in Kansas. Looking at it as a state whole, we're going through a water crisis, and a lot of folks might not know about Kansas, but actually in the western area, it's very dry, and we have a big aquifer called the Ogallala Aquifer, and Kansas is currently trying to invest in resources at the state level, incentives with our groundwater management districts and all those folks working, with Colorado and our neighboring states. As we know, water is life, that we can help protect these initiatives. So I've been very supportive of all water issues that come to Kansas, trying to fully fund incentive programs from the state level as well. And at the local level, we also see other environmental issues, such as we dubbed this bill the ban of plastic bags, which comes from a more conservative ideology where they don't want local communities to have the power to make the choice if they want to ban plastic bags or those types of products in their communities, which is quite unfortunate. We preach local control a lot, and to see the state government overreach in a lot of these decisions is quite unfortunate. And oftentimes, coming from Lawrence, as kind of one of the bigger communities in Kansas, a lot of what we are doing kind of gets word at the state level, and the state will start to make policies off of just a few cities. And then also we're pretty well known for our wind turbines and our potential to use solar energy and renewable resources, and just trying to invest in those researches and incentives as well.
I want to switch gears and talk about abortion. As we know, it's been a national conversation for almost exactly a year now with the Supreme Court decision. What is your stance on abortion, and what do you feel about it in terms of, access to it?
So I'm pro-choice, and I really think that the person who is going to get pregnant has the full capability of making their own decisions with their healthcare providers, with their families. Government, politicians, elected officials should absolutely not be making these definite health care choices, decisions for people. They're trying to make these one-size-fits-all policies, and each circumstances is different. Not one issue can be same for others, and it's really sad to see this choice being taken away. Kansas is a unique state, and I believe one of the first states in the country after Roe v. Wade fell in that we have in our state constitution that abortion is a constitutional right in our state. And on August 2nd in 2022, we had a ballot initiative where it would change that definition in the Constitution. Kansas spoke loud and clear. They wanted to keep it in the state constitution. And if you look at the political demographic, there's more Republicans than Democrats. So this is an issue that a belief that was shared on all political spectrums, including folks who might not be a Republican or a Democrat, came out to vote and said, keep Kansas a choice of abortion in our state. And to see the conservative ideologies come into our state house and plant these little seeds of preventing anti-abortion policies, we're kind of seeing building blocks continue to increase for possibly more restrictions to abortion, even though Kansas said less than a year ago that they don't want us as legislators to make these types of decisions for them.
Another very polarizing conversation that we're seeing nationwide is about gun laws. Where do you stand on that issue?
So I think as state elected officials, we need to do something to end gun violence in America. And it's really unfortunate to see, issues in Texas and Tennessee where we see school shootings. And for me, gun violence is 100% preventable. We need to make policies to prevent common sense gun safety. At the same time, I'm seeing policies in my state, such as educating young folks about gun safety. Why are we putting such a big burden on little kids when it's adults that, keep guns in the household? We don't have safe gun storage laws in Kansas, and anytime we try to introduce these types of legislation, they get a lot of pushback from national organizations who might have a special interest at the national level as well to keep guns more accessible. Now, in Kansas, we are trying to, do like universal background checks and red flag laws, but those don't go anywhere. And it's crazy because when you talk to somebody, and my colleagues, a lot of them are parents as well. They have children who have gone through, school shooting drills. And unfortunately, we had incidences last year in Kansas City area, in the Blue Valley area, where there was a lockdown that they will not help pass these gun sense laws to do something about it. And that is infuriating. And I believe last week we had Ralph Yarl, who got unfortunately shot in the Kansas City area for knocking on the wrong door. So this is continuing to happen. This is continuing to happen to our children, to our young people, and to our young people of color. And it's really sad. And we need to do something about it. And I really wish that we could, one of these issues, I wish we could put politics aside and just get together and do something and pass solutions.
Absolutely. Well, Representative Christina Haswood, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.